Moving on to our spotlight games, Mallory, what do we got this week?
Let's start off with Texas. Number 5 Texas playing at Arkansas this Saturday at 11 a.m. You can watch it on ABC. Texas, 13.5 point favorites, over under 57.5.
All right, what do we think about this one? Because for a little bit, Arkansas looked like a team this year that was going to maybe do some stuff.
They were embracing the hog.
They were embracing the hog, all of it. And then last week happened. And Ole Miss exercised some demons when they realized that they can't drop any more games or they were going to miss out on the playoff after spending like $1 million in the portal. And they got nuked to the sun, 63-31 at home. Look, I think there were some things that Taylor Green was doing well with Arkansas. They had like a little bit of an offense going there. I don't know. I don't feel good about this.
So when we discussed Texas preseason, we're like, are they ready for the big bad SEC?
Yeah.
My take on it was I am not concerned with the top line SEC games because Texas always plays up to their competition.
Sure.
Forget about the Georgia game for a second.
They played up.
While I do this,
they played up for the most part.
The Arkansas game, I always thought should scare Texas fans the most because they said at SEC Media Day, Sark drops, Arkansas hates Texas more than they love themselves. And then they asked Sam Pittman, and you think Sam Pittman's going to be like, no, like we're focused on us, the coaching cliches. He's like, no, he's probably right. He's exactly right. Let me talk about the last 2 times Texas and Arkansas have played. They've only played 7 times in the last 30 years. The last 2 times are the 40-21 loss in Steve Sarkisian's first year. That was an actual nightmare trip to Fayetteville. That's the Hudson Card game, like threw him in the arena like gladiator, basically. Yeah. And then 2014 when they lost 31-7 in the Texas Bowl, and Tyrone Swoops went 13 of 25 for 57 yards and an interception. 2 of the worst games in Texas program history in the last decade come at the hands of Arkansas. Yeah. So everyone acting that, hey, Texas is back after beating Florida on a 3rd-string walk-on quarterback at home. This is nothing like going to Fayetteville and playing Arkansas on the road, even though they're probably similar-ish caliber teams.
They're better than I thought they'd be this season, Arkansas. They still have an outside shot at 8 wins, I think. I think they have to win out. But, again, that's not something I thought I'd be saying. You know, Sam Pittman, for a lot of people, was going to be one of the first coaches fired. It's looking like he's going to hold on to his job. But I think they have figured something out to make things happen when they can on offense. Again, the downfield passing is not great. Taylor Green in the run game has been decent. The issue, I think, is going to come in the run defense. As we've seen, the issue for Texas, is running against Arkansas. As we've seen, Quinn Ewers has been prone to mistakes. We talked about the banged-up backfield for them as well. Arkansas has been pretty good in the front 7. Not great pass rushing specifically, but in the front 7 in the run game. If Texas, as we've seen, Sark prefers a balance. I think Quinn Ewers is best when he has a balance to lean on. When the game leans on him a little bit, I think that's when he starts to, not fluster, but that's when he starts to show his inconsistencies, right? That's my worry, is they try to establish a balance, which I think they should. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying go into the game not trying to run the ball. But I think if they go 3 and out, maybe if they don't have a touchdown in their first 2 drives, they start to press a little bit. The thing where it will benefit Texas is I don't think Arkansas's offense is good enough to then capitalize on the other end.
No, the Arkansas's offense is not good enough to capitalize. Okay, Arkansas is 124th in the nation in passing yards. If Quinn Ewers' confidence isn't already 100% of the way back, it'll be back after this game.
Yes.
But does this game not scream that he's going to throw a first drive interception? Can you just picture? Everyone close your eyes.
Yeah.
Everyone close your eyes. Fayetteville's rocking.
Yeah.
Texas gets the ball deep in their own territory. It's like the worst interception you've seen. I think he's going to have a great game, but it's going to be a bad interception to start off.
It wouldn't shock me. I think Texas fans know he is who he is at this point. You know, he's going to there are going to be some games against Michigan where he just comes out and is the best player on the field. And you realize this guy can win the Heisman. And then there's going to be games like Georgia, obviously not always against Georgia, but where it's like, what? What some mistakes like that, some mistakes where you're like, is he a sophomore?
Well, and to his credit, he normally bounces back from that very well.
100%. No, he never had, and also I don't think he has 2 bad games in a row either, or 2 mid games in a row. I don't want to say bad, but 2 average games. He usually bounces back in a pretty good way. And yeah, the thing about him is that he's never been mentally shaken either.
No.
So I think I agree. I wouldn't be shocked if this was like a very early quarter, because I think Arkansas is going to come up with some things that maybe frustrate him. But I just don't see, the Texas defense has been sensational all year. I just don't see, even with how much I like Taylor Green in that offense, them being able to do much.
Arkansas's AD should try the Florida playbook of giving the vote of confidence to Sam Pittman. Like, he'll be back next year before this Texas game.
Yeah.
Like they did that for Billy Napier.
Yeah, exactly.
In Florida.
I think. Yeah, that turned out so great. Which, by the way, I think was more of a predetermined thing in terms of like, oh, we're gonna get blasted.
Me and Craven talked about it on the Sunday recap, but it's still so funny. The screen grab of him just looking out at the field, like in the sunglasses, next to the quote of like vote of confidence, and the 42-0 score at the bottom is so funny.
I think Taylor Green was knocked out of the Ole Miss game, but I think he is expected to be back for this.
Shout out Louisville.
Shout out Louisville. He is. Like I said, I'm a big fan of him. So
I am too.
He's been good this year. Mallory, what's next?
Up next, North Texas playing at UTSA this Friday at 7 p.m. You can watch it on ESPN2. UNT coming in as 1.5 point favorites. Over under is 72.5, and in parentheses it says hell yeah.
Over.
Can you believe Craven no-showed for this podcast, Mallory, before your alma maters play each other?
Over. Give me the over on that.
And UNT's favored.
Give me the over.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Give me the over. Neither of these teams play defense. Look, I am very excited for this game, because if you want to talk about, narratives being formed after this one, I think I put in the Slack after Craven posted the line. I was like, UTSA has the chance to do the funniest thing. In the season of nightmares, still beat UNT.
Still beat UNT.
In the season of nightmares that they lose to Tulsa, they lose to Rice, they go to Denton, or sorry, this one's in the Alamo. Still, they beat UNT.
And they have to win this game if they want to go bowling, because they play Temple and Army to finish out. They're going to beat Temple, but Army is very tough.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Speaking of Army, by the way,
that was awesome. I'm sorry, that game last week was awesome. That was so dope.
You may not like it, but you have to respect it.
You do, man. That game was. I was watching that game, and it was like, oh, it's 14-3. I was like, dog, that might as well be 42-3. Like, this game, that 94-yard drive that took up the entire quarter.
The entire quarter.
UNT had the ball for 30 seconds.
Think about the North Texas whiplash of going from Army to UTSA, who can't run the ball at all. They actually throw 35 times a game. Who's going to have more passing attempts, Owen McCown or Chandler Morris?
Oh, it's going to be Morris.
Morris.
Chandler Morris.
Yeah, it's got to be Chandler Morris.
But still, with that being said, that's a good point, because this game is all breaks off. Just no breaks at all. Like I mentioned, neither team can play defense. I will say, if UNT wants to find its run game, UTSA wants to find its run game, UNT is not a bad defense to play.
No.
If you can't do it versus these guys, then
you might have to go air raid the rest of the year. But let's talk about last week a little bit. Or I guess 2 weeks ago for UTSA. Big win over Memphis, right? Massive win. And UNT, again, it's Army is a ranked team. I think they're having a sensational year. So, like, I don't want to say and UNT's down after a loss to Army. Where do you think both these teams are mentally? Because UNT they're still not in a bowl either, and that's kind of what we need to see in the second year of Eric Morris.
I think UTSA definitely has more positive momentum right now than North Texas does, but I think North Texas overall is still higher on themselves for the season they've had. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense.
I think so. Yeah. Where I am personally,
go ahead. 3 weeks ago, North Texas was riding high, like we could win the AAC, and UTSA was like, this is going to be a nightmare. And now it's getting closer to each other, but North Texas is still ahead of them in the vibes rankings.
Sure. I'll say this. I think the nightmare for UNT is dropping this game, because even though they close out with East Carolina and Temple, games they should win, they should still go bowling. We looked at this stretch of games and we're saying, they're not going to win those, right? And it was like, in order for us to be proven that this is a much improved team, get one, right? I think getting one would have proved a lot. Memphis, Tulane, Army, UTSA. We looked at the stretch and we said, get one of them somehow. And if they get none of them, again, I think they still went out in their final two games. But all of a sudden, that becomes like a vibes thing where you're like, ooh, 4 straight losses to teams that you kind of hoped you were at least in the league of. And if there's a disappointing loss to ECU or somewhere in there, I'm not saying, again, I would still pick them to go bowling. But like at that point, you're on a 4-game losing streak. You have to win out. You kind of, and so like it's the snowball effect a little bit of vibes. So Mallory, I'm curious about your thoughts on this one because, of course, I wrote a piece about this last year. This is an underrated rivalry in Texas.
It really is.
The past 10 years or so, this has become like a pretty hated rivalry between both programs.
I remember in 2021 when I was still emceeing at North Texas, and I flew back early from my Thanksgiving family trip in Colorado just to MC the North Texas UTSA game.
Yeah.
And it was cold and it was rainy, but people still showed up for it, and people were chirping at each other.
Yeah.
So like I think it has grown into being one of the better rivalries in Texas. It really has. And I like, Eric Morris and Jeff Traylor. I think that's become a fun little kind of thing, and I don't know. I really like it. It's become a fun rivalry.
Yeah, like for me, it's one of those that like it doesn't matter how good or bad each team is.
It's one of those. It's one of those games. Yes, you're exactly right.
Because I think UTSA was unbeaten heading into 1 year, right? I think or 1 loss or unbeaten 1 year, and then UNT beat them.
Yeah.
In Denton.
Yep.
Again, like it wouldn't, like I said, it wouldn't shock me even if UNT maybe had won one of the past couple games. It wouldn't shock me if UTSA pulled an upset this past, like
right.
if they were favored hitting it. So I don't know. I'm very fascinated by this game because both fan bases kind of have their own levels of anxiety right now.
Mm-hmm.
And whoever loses this game, I think it's going to ramp back up.
This is a Friday night game. Are you guys going to have it on like a phone somewhere, like during Texas football tonight?
Probably
on Friday night.
I'm going to be monitoring the score at the very least. And I know Jeff Traylor's going to be hating every minute of it because it's a Friday night and he's not watching a playoff game.
Well, and I was going to say, too, to flip it over to the UTSA side, if we're talking about bowling, they're sitting at 4 wins, and they have North Texas, and then they have Temple. So they have to win those next 2 games because they finish with Army. Yeah. So, like, a lot of chips on shoulders on this one. It's going to be fun. I am very
pointy. I was about to say, take the over this one.
Take the over.
I said, neither team's very good at defense. UTSA is, I think, just realizing that they just need to cut the brakes now. UNT cut the brakes a long time ago.
This could hit the under, but if you take the under, you're insane.
Yeah,
correct.
There's
potential, but
yes.
Yeah.
You hate fun if you take the under.
Yeah.
All right, Mallory. What is I believe our last spotlight game?
Last spotlight game of Week 12. Can't believe it's Week 12 already. Baylor at West Virginia, 3 p.m. Saturday. You can watch it on ESPN2. Baylor, 2.5-point favorites. The over-under's 59.5.
All right. So.
All right.
Speaking of 2 coaches that we would have thought probably would not have had a job.
No.
Heading into this season.
The How Are We Still Here Bowl.
How Are We Still Here Bowl.
Look, I'll say this. I know from what I understand, Neil Brown's buyout is pretty big, which is also another reason why they kept Dave Aranda, Baylor. But also I think they also like Dave Aranda, so they don't want a reason to fire him.
Plug Craven's story today on TexasFootball.com talking about it's going to be maybe a quiet coaching carousel because of the impending revenue sharing and the large buyouts and teams are going to have to start spending a lot more money on the players, so you don't want to just pull ripcord on coaches just yet.
Yep, exactly.
Maybe no more Mel Tucker 9-year contracts after Kenneth Walker gives him 1 good season.
Okay, well, his contract ended for other reasons, Carter. They terminated him for other reasons other than that.
I wasn't talking about the termination. I was talking about giving the contract.
Oh, well, correct.
That wasn't a sideswipe. That was a T-bone.
Yeah, I was about to say that was just running through the red light into the semi truck. But I do.
Thanks.
Do we know if Garrett Green's starting this game? Because I know he's missed the last couple. Nico Markiel has started for West Virginia the past couple. So I don't know if that obviously plays a little bit of a factor because this is still a West Virginia team that needs, I think, 1 more win. I think they're 5-4 right now.
Yeah, both teams are 5-4.
So, okay, so there is something like. Obviously, I don't think there's a coaching change coming for either program this offseason, but you would like to roll into the offseason with good vibes of having extra practices, playing the bowl, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. For the first time since 2016, Baylor has rushed for over 250 yards in 3 consecutive games. We talked about Texas high school football at the beginning of the show, but Bryson Washington, Dawson Pendergrass, Richard Reese in there as well. 3-star running back is what we've called him before.
Yep.
All the Texas high school football guys have really brought balance back to the Baylor offense. And speaking of the offense, they're now 3rd in the Big 12 in scoring. Is Jake Spavital the best assistant coach in Texas? I think it's him, Scott Simons. Like if we did a Skylar Cassidy's in there.
Skylar Cassidy would be, yeah.
If we did a Texas-only Broyles Award for best assistant coach, I think Jake Spavital, from where Baylor was to where they are now, might be one of the best in Texas.
I think he's on a short list. If I had to name 5 off the top of my head, no order: Pete Kwiatkowski, Spav, Simons, Cassidy. I mean, there's probably discussion for the next one, but there's no guarantee about who the next one is. So I think that I would probably lean, I'd probably lean that as far as those 4. But to your point, yes, he's made things better in the run game. He's obviously made things better for their quarterback, Sawyer Robertson. The offensive line looks, again, this is an offensive line that we were worried about. It was just bad. And they've been fine. They haven't been stellar, but like they've been enough to help generate yards in both phases of the offense. I'll say this. I think West Virginia has always been a team that I cannot pinpoint every year.
They're slippery.
We thought Neil Brown was the most fired
really
man
are.
last season, right? And they come out, they won 7 games, 8 games, something like that? It was like something out of nowhere.
Yeah, they had a really surprising. They're almost like Oklahoma State-esque in the way of they always underperform or overperform expectations. They never meet them.
Yeah, except Neil Brown doesn't wear an OAN shirt when he's fishing.
Well, true. Yeah, they're one big difference.
There's one big difference. But so I'm looking at West Virginia's remaining schedule: Baylor, UCF, Texas Tech. It's not. I think they beat UCF. UCF's probably not that good right now. But if they lose this game, similarly, we talked about teams needing that bowl win, right? Tech's going to be trying to scrounge whatever they can for their remaining, in their last game of the season. I look at Baylor's remaining schedule, playing the schedule game because it's late. Houston, Kansas. 2 teams that have found their mojo a little bit, right?
Yeah,
Kansas
don't
looked
look now.
really good last week.
Yeah.
Houston,
Jeff Grimes, don't look now. He's figuring it out.
Literally.
That would be
the funniest
amazing
thing
if he goes,
ever.
Oh, it's in Waco too. Oh, Jeff Grimes coming back. He's like, you guys thought.
Welcome back.
Heisman Jalen Daniels is about to come back with a vengeance. Houston, of course, is a Venus flytrap, just waiting for you to think that they're a bad team and just snatch you right up.
Well, the flytrap's a little bit damaged because Willie Fritz broke his 2 fingers right now.
Listen, that's a guy who doesn't care. I love it. How old is he? How did he break 2 fingers in practice?
He broke it in the Utah game. I think probably just giving high fives and tapping guys on the helmet.
Yeah.
I don't know if they said how he broke it.
64 years old, and he's just breaking fingers because he's so hyped.
What a G, man. What a G.
Yeah, he's in a splint now, but he came out in the post-game
That
press
rocks.
conference and had him taped up. And I was like, this guy's amazing.
He probably
I
just
love
went to
this
the
guy.
trainer. He's like, tape me up.
Do to rock Willie Fritz.
He does rock.
Do to rock Willie
On this
Fritz.
one, though, give me Baylor just because, again, I've thought West Virginia is bad or like mid or whatever. And if I think that Baylor's turning the corner, this is the game, even though it's on the road, this is the game I think they should be able to pull out. So.
I agree.
All right, Mallory, we got the lightning round coming up next. We're going to spend a little bit more time on it, not our one sentence because it's a light show. So,
Lightning round. Let's get to it. Texas A&M versus New Mexico State, 6:45 on Saturday. You can watch it on SEC Network. Texas A&M 40.5-point favorites, over under 54.5.
Well, we said we were going
to be pretty.
yeah.
We said we were going to spend some more time on these. I don't know if we
Not
need to
this
spend much
one.
time.
Not this one. Not this
No,
one.
A&M should punt them into the sun. If they want to find a semblance of their passing game, this is the game to do it in.
Yep.
New Mexico State's not very good. Their whole team's in Nashville right now playing for Vanderbilt. And so
exactly.
they're not very good. So this is a game to get the running game in order. Their whole team's in Nashville.
They really
right
are.
now. Eli Stowers is even in Nashville.
That's so true.
Yeah, so
They're all on Broadway right now at the Justin Timberlake bar, hanging out during this game.
Like, remember when we were in Las Cruces last year?
That's fantastic.
So this is a game to figure out who your running back's going to be, right? Who your running backs are going to be, not just one. And then to figure out if Marcel Reed in the downfield passing game, whatever it is, to get some reps in. So that's all I want.
What is Terry Bussey going to play some running back?
We might be getting to that
so.
point. They've been putting him as like a gadget player, and of course in the return game,
Wide receiver a bit.
They may. I don't know if. This might be the game to do it, honestly, because I don't know if you want to bust him out against Texas.
This would definitely be the game.
Running back.
This would definitely be the game to do that.
I wouldn't be shocked if that's a package that they roll out. If like him and Amari Daniels is like a wildcat or something. So I would love that. I don't know. I have no insight from practice, but why not? Why not? He's less than a year out from playing quarterback, so.
Mike Elko gives us a call. We want to ask about your Terry Bussey usage.
Yeah, please.
Yeah,
please.
literally. Okay. SMU playing Boston College at 2:30 Saturday, ESPN. SMU, 16.5-point favorites. The over-under is 53.5. This one's interesting to me.
This one is. So
very interesting.
Castellanos, should mention, got benched for Boston College. I believe he's actually off the team now, or at least he took a leave.
Taking a couple days away.
Yeah, took a couple days away. So I don't know. Boston College looked good with him at one point.
Well,
but go ahead.
Duncanville legend Grayson James has taken over.
Yeah, formerly of FIU.
That's right.
Of course, played, I believe, in one state championship game with Duncanville. Look, SMU, I have no reasons to doubt them at this point, right? At one point, we were talking about, heading into the year, is the running game going to be that great? Is the pass catching going to be, what was the quarterback situation? They've answered so many of those. I have no reason not to take them and think they're going to win this comfortably.
I think so too.
Well, we spent the whole first half of the show getting pretty mad about them not making the college football playoff, so it could all go to waste if they lose this game. If they trip themselves
I will
up.
say one thing that I think the reason why they will win this comfortably, Pinstripe Bowl revenge.
True. The Wasabi Fenway Bowl.
Wasabi Fenway Bowl.
Sorry, apologies to New York. I confused you with Boston. Wasabi Fenway Bowl revenge game, because after that game, we were like,
at the
is
baseball
SMU
stadium
ready for the ACC? And all of a sudden, they could look at that and be like, so y'all ready for the ACC? We're going to punt this team into the sun.
Yeah, looking back, that was probably an overreaction to be like them playing on Wednesday at 9 a.m. in Fenway Park. Was like, I don't know if they're ready for Power 4.
That's fair.
And I was leading that train. I was like, if you can't do it in the Wasabi Fenway Bowl, can you do it
I think we all were.
November?
Yeah, I think we all were.
In Stoke. Look, I was about to say we all were, because at that point it became a trend, right? Oklahoma, TCU, Boston. It was like, again, not the best barometer. So like, you couldn't beat Oklahoma, but like at that time, the only power programs you played, you lost to. Mm-hmm. So I think it was more of a trend as opposed to individually. But regardless, I think SMU, there's a lot of these players that remember that game. We're like, all right, yeah, let's show how ready we are right now.
Mm-hmm. So. Houston playing at Arizona this Friday at 9:15. You can watch it on FS1. Arizona 1.5-point favorites. Over/unders 44.5.
Arizona's not that good.
Well, their quarterback and wide receiver. Well, quarterback kind of. Wide receiver is good.
Yes, wide receiver's great.
Other than that,
quarterback is good at when throwing to said wide receiver.
That's it.
And other than that, they have not much else.
Nope. I'm very fascinated by this game. Houston still in the hunt for a bowl. Arizona, Baylor, and BYU. Again, not an easy road, but still a road. They need this one, though. Obviously, they need to pull an upset if they want to go bowling. I think they can get it done. I think they will get it done. I'll say it that way. Arizona, their losses... Actually, I'm going to say their wins. Their wins are not good. New Mexico, Northern Arizona, and Utah, who we now know is not good. Mm-hmm. All the good teams they've played this year, they've lost to. Almost by double digits every single time. So I will gladly think that Houston can scrape this one out.
In my heart, I think they're going to scrape this one out too. I think this is a completely different team than they were at the beginning of the season. But can't you close your eyes and kind of see them losing 24-0 as well? Like them just putting up a stinker.
If they just forget to cover Tetero and McMillan, yes. But like, even what teams are realizing with Arizona is just let Tetero and McMillan get his. Mm-hmm. Like he's averaging in their losses 161 yards, 131 yards, 202 yards. These are losses, by the way, that he's having these receiving numbers. So I think teams are just like, yeah, it's fine. He's going to go top 10 in the draft. We don't care. As long as they literally can't throw it to him every play. They can try, but we're going to get some off of Noah Fafita. So I could see them losing, but I just don't see them losing big. This team has not lost big in a while.
All right.
It's also such a late kick too. 9:15.
Welcome to Arizona, baby.
I know.
Welcome to the new Big 12.
Yeah, no kidding.
This is what happens when we let all those West Coasters in.
I know, it's crazy. Man. At least be good if we're going to stay up that late, too. Like, Arizona State's at least being fun. They're good. Cam Scatabo, I know he was here last week, but, like, Cam Scatabo's good. Sam Levitt's good. That defense is good. At least make it entertaining if you're going to make us stay up. Mm-hmm. Colorado's being good, too. Like, come on now.
Yeah.
Give us something good here.
Texas State playing Southern Miss this Saturday at 6 p.m. You can watch on ESPN+. Texas State, 26.5-point favorites. The over-under 56.
Speaking of teams that stink, Southern Miss stinks.
Transition.
Homecoming for Texas State. They're bringing out the Southwest Texas branding again. So
let's go.
This should be a romping, and I'm not joking. Last week was a nice, surprising, convincing victory. ULM, of course, is a surprising team that I didn't expect to be in the bowl hunt, but they are, and Texas State handled them for the most part. The only question is going to be who plays a quarterback, because Jordan McLeod did play. We did not finish the game. after getting injured in the last game against Louisiana. I almost said Bo Jackson.
Bo Jackson.
Bo Jackson.
Now that would be really interesting.
Awesome.
That'd be great.
Current Bo Jackson.
Yeah.
60 plus. No. Brad Jackson.
He'd still get 50 yards at least.
Probably against Southern Miss at least.
Yeah, true. Actually, 100.
Brad Jackson played, which I think is a very interesting indication of where Texas State's quarterback pecking order is, because there are upperclassmen on the roster at that position. We'll see. I'm very fascinated to see if that's similar dual quarterback thing. The other thing to watch, Texas State one game from going back-to-back bowl eligibility seasons. I think that's a big thing. I think they want to round out the year great. I think they have a big game against South Alabama at the end of the year, but Southern Miss, Georgia State are back-to-back. Got to get those two games, because then you could still, if you win out or even if you win those two, you could still look at it and say, improvement on last year. Not necessarily the year you wanted, but improvement.
I said I was going to bring up the Bill Connolly SP Plus rates.
Yeah.
So last night, checking my phone, Colton McWilliams, friend of the program, love Colton McWilliams.
Record,
yeah. He tagged all of us in a tweet that was a very well actually tweet, and saying that Texas State is actually the top G5 team in Texas.
Yeah.
If you look at the SP Plus ratings, and then Craven put him in the body bag and just sent the score of the Sam Houston Texas State game.
Yeah.
So that was very funny.
Honestly, all that shows to me is that Texas State's underperformed.
Yeah.
Texas State's underperformed this year, because I don't disagree that talent-wise, sure, but look at that first half against Sam Houston. Awesome. They didn't finish. Got to finish. I don't care if Sam Houston looks like butt sometimes on offense. It's effective.
You can't.
They're winning games. Can't fake the scoreboard.
Yeah, you can't lose games in college football and still win.
Exactly.
Trent Dilfer.
He's losing a lot of games. Sorry.
He sure is.
UAB stinks.
They do. Speaking of the best G5 team in Texas, Sam Houston playing one of the worst teams in the nation, I should say, Kennesaw State. Saturday at 2 p.m. You can watch it on ESPN Plus. Sam Houston, 13.5-point favorites. Over-under is 42.5. I think that line is that way because I think we talked about it before the podcast. We don't know who's going to take over for Kennesaw State because their coach got fired.
We do know now. Okay, so backstory on this. Kennesaw State is in turmoil now. They fired...
It's kind of self-inflicted turmoil.
Okay,
right.
So let me unpack this here. That Brian Bohannon, the head coach, the only head coach, I believe, it announced he had stepped down. He then
the program announced that
he stepped down. He said, that's not true, I got fired. The AD said, I had a misunderstanding, and told him he could say he stepped down, but he chose not to say that.
The AD came out and said, sorry, I'm trying to delete it. Sorry, guys. By the way, Brian Bohannon, who led them to, he's the one that's been, you mentioned, their only head coach, transition coach as well from the FCS, where they were a playoff team, consistent playoff team in the FCS. 12 wins, 11 wins, 4 wins during the COVID year, 11 wins as their final year of the FCS. They were a transition team with 5 wins and then 3 wins and now 1 win. But that 1 win coming against Liberty, the question becomes, what did you want him to do?
This is like if Sam Houston fired Casey Keeler last year.
Yeah, I think so. That's fair. Yeah, because Sam Houston's last year as a transition team was like about 5-6 wins, right? And then, of course, last year was last year. Yeah, basically. This is like, hey, okay, cool, you didn't win in your first year.
Which would have been insane if Sam Houston did that.
Right, exactly, which would have been insane. As we're seeing now, they beat Liberty, guys. They beat the team that was in the New Year's Six last year, right? Mm. And they're like, cool, who'd you lose? I forgot. They lost last week, but like, who cares? They weren't expected to win this year. And so they fired him. That's the only shot I'm giving him in this game is the new head coach bump, as we're seeing, as we've seen with Rice.
So I said I didn't want to take this spread until I did some more research on the interim coach, Chandler Burks.
That's right.
I've done extra 2 minutes of research. I'm not worried about it. Okay. Sam Houston's going to roll.
You looked at him saying bum. All right.
I looked at a picture. I looked at his name.
Overrated.
And it's fine. Sam Houston's going to roll.
Overrated Cats by 90.
Well, you worry like the interim coach, like Pete Alomar, whose only head coaching job was in Mexico, is going to come in and work magic.
Yeah.
Or like Darren Rizzi in the NFL, who comes in for the same. The Rizzler.
The Rizzler in the NFL.
You get these characters that come in and have these heroic one-game like performances.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing it from Chandler Burks.
I will say, I think it happens after this week because they got FIU and La Tech, which are great bounce-back games if you want a head coaching bump, which also, Makes me very frustrated that they fired Bohannon now, because they could very much end the year with 2 back-to-back wins, FIU and La Tech, and they were like, we can't let that happen. We got to axe this now. But yeah, this is going to be, I'll say take the under, because even if Sam Houston controls this game, this can be like 21-3.
Yeah.
Similar to UNT versus Army, where it's like, yeah, it's fine. We don't need to score.
Yeah.
So.
And then the teams that have buys, TCU, Texas Tech, Rice, and UTEP.
Oh, Tech
That's
needs
it.
that bye. Tech desperately needs that bye.
Faux show.
Need some orange slices too after last week. So.